Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. And that's your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi, folks. Welcome back. From redstate.com. Psaki's response on use of Patriot Act against parents raises red flags. Jen Psaki, for those who don't know, is the press secretary here. She's pictured here. Now, her non-response, plus a question asked, then nominee, Judge Garland, before he was Attorney General. Folks, you should be afraid. Be very afraid. I'll tell you the truth. This is my opinion, and my opinion only. The Patriot Act should be dismantled, put out, voted out. Yeah, I know. It's tougher to get terrorists. Yeah, I know. All those things. Just like the Fourth Amendment is tougher to convict people. Yeah. Yeah, your right to remain silent makes it harder for law enforcement. All those things make it harder. You're right. But individuals' rights should always, always, always supersede legislation, period. I call for the repeal of the Patriot Act before it really is too late. They go after everybody and anybody they feel is a political enemy. It's disgusting and it's ridiculous. And nobody has the balls to go in and clean these people out from these intelligence services. It's just a statement of fact. Let's read on. As I noted earlier, there's a lot of concern from parents that the Biden administration may be targeting them for their objections to critical race theory and or pandemic restrictions in schools. With the announcement of Attorney General Merrick Garland, he would be coordinating a federal law enforcement effort looking into threats against schools and school boards. Now you're going to see Psaki's response. Well, it's against the law to threaten public servants. Yeah, they're servants, all right. I used to be a city councilman for 8 years. I was considered a public servant. I used to get called stuff all the time. I got called a effing pig one time at a council meeting because I wouldn't go along with some back crap crazy LGBT stuff. It's just ridiculous. And I was a Democrat back then. One of the concerns raised was the terminology. The National School Boards Association letter requesting that Joe Biden involve the federal government. First of all, it's not their jurisdiction. You think I would call the FBI because somebody called me a bad name and threatened me at a city council meeting when I was city council president in 2006? I think I'm going to call the FBI? That'd be ridiculous. If there was violence or somebody was unruly in the council chambers in this case, I would get local law enforcement to remove them if they didn't calm down or behave, if they were disrupting the meeting. These parents wait hours for their open mic, and they have that right. They have the right to call you everything, but they call me everything but John. That's their right. And to call the FBI to look into this? This is insane. This is centralized government. This is centralized law enforcement. The Washington, I believe, what do they call the Capitol Police, are opening up offices all over the United States. This, folks, has turned into the Hunger Games. I'm trying to remember the numbers of the Hunger Games because I'm a huge fan of the Hunger Games series. I believe this would be, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 77th Hunger Games. In essence, that's what this has come down to. Centralized power, centralized control. The biggest fear of the founders and also the system of the Constitution and all its intricacies to stop centralized government. Let's read on. Peter Doocy asked White House Secretary Jen Psaki about troubling aspects of that request. So let's...
A week ago, the National School Boards Association wrote to the president to say that their teachers feel like some parents protesting recently could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism. And then the Attorney General put the FBI on the case. So does the administration agree that parents upset about their kids' curriculums could be considered domestic terrorists?
Well, let me unravel this a little bit, because the National School Board Association is not...
Let's unravel this a little bit. She talks for a living, so she picks her words carefully. You can go back on YouTube. You can see some videos of her. She was the press secretary for the State Department for a long time under Obama. So she's used to doublespeak and BS.
A part of the U.S. government. I'd point you to them. What the Department of Justice said in a letter from the Attorney General is that, quote, threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values.
What's a threat? What's the definition? Nobody's going to say. To go up to a mic when I was a council member and say I was coming up for re-election, and a resident of the city of Binghamton, which I was a council member in, said, John, you're next. Look over your shoulder. We're coming after you. Is that a physical threat or is that a political threat? It's hard to say. And what they've done is they've opened the door, the FBI, to these deep, deep blue cities, especially the bigger cities, with incredibly progressive nut bar school board members that are pushing this crap, and also the states to get to decide what's in the curriculum. It's out of control. What they're doing is telling the local school boards that are progressives, hey, guys, give us a call. We'll bring in the FBI. We'll take care of your problem for you. It's wrong think. These people have the wrong political values. We'll put a stop to it immediately. That's exactly what's going on.
That is true. These were threats against public servants, threats against members of the school board. Regardless of the reasoning, threats and violence against public servants is illegal. That's what he was conveying from the Department of Justice.
But the Department of Justice does now have the FBI on this. Something that the School Boards Association is asking for is for the administration to consider using the Patriot Act to investigate some of these school board protesters. So would the administration be okay with the FBI using the Patriot Act to surveil these parents if that is what they decide?
I don't speak on behalf of the National School Board Association. I speak on behalf of this government. The Attorney General has put out a letter. They will take actions.
You notice what she didn't do? She didn't answer the question. And that should scare the hell out of everyone. Political wrongthink. Let's read on. A week ago, the National School Board Association wrote to the president to say their teachers feel like some parents protesting recently would be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism, Ducey said. Then the Attorney General put the FBI in the case. So does the administration agree that parents upset about their kids' curriculum should be considered domestic terrorists? And then there's Psaki's non-response response. Even if there are actual threats, they haven't shown anything more than a handful of actions. She didn't explain why it necessitated federal action. It doesn't. Because they want centralized power, they want centralized control. It's a local matter, whether it be a city, a village, a county. They have their own law enforcement, they have their own sheriffs, they have their own police department. If somebody gets out of hand, I know. I was a councilman for 8 years. So let's take a look here. This is a video from then nominee Merrick Garland when he was Judge Garland before he was Attorney General. And I want you to listen to his response because it's scary as hell.
Do you regard assaults on federal courthouses or other federal property as acts of domestic extremism, domestic terrorism?
Well, Senator, my own definition, which is about the same as the statutory definition, is the use of violence or threats of violence.
My definition, which is close to the statutory definition, which is a fancy way of saying my truth. This is the way I read the statute. That's not the intent of the statute, but I can read it any way I want to and manipulate it to anything I want to, and that should scare the hell out of people. This guy is now the highest ranking law enforcement officer in the country.
An attempt to disrupt democratic processes. So an attack on a courthouse while in operation, trying to prevent judges from actually deciding cases, that plainly is domestic extremism, domestic terrorism.
This guy's a highly educated man and he talks for a living. I have to make sure now that I get every word just right, so I don't make the Antifa BLM rioters upset.
An attack simply on a government property at night or any other kind of circumstances is a clear crime and a serious one and should be punished. I don't know enough about the facts of the example you're talking about, but that.
You don't know enough about the facts. It was covered, wall-to-wall coverage. Federal property was being, they tried to burn a bunch of federal agents alive in the building. You don't know enough about what the individual parts of this case? Are you nuts? Be afraid, folks. Be very afraid. Is it any wonder people are concerned about the weaponizing the justice system under the Democrats? That's right. That's correct. Be afraid. Be very afraid. I call for the immediate repeal of the Patriot Act and all the ensuing laws that were attached to it. As usual, the progressive Democrats are using law enforcement to destroy and eliminate their political opponents. They've always done it that way. Republicans aren't perfect either, but they're nowhere near as evil as the progressive Democrats are in this situation. Be afraid, folks. Be very afraid. Call your representative. Yes, it's going to be tougher to catch real terrorists. That's just the way it is. The Constitution doesn't have an asterisk that says this only applies when it's easy. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.